guys, welcome back to the Think Global and Work Local podcast. In today's episode, we have a very special guest, Tyler Prochazka.
Hi.
Yeah, thank you so much for making the time.
Thank you. Yeah.
So why don't you start introducing yourself to the people out there, like paint us a picture if we do not know you completely.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm originally from Kansas, a flat land in the middle of the United States with a lot of wheat and a lot of really great people. I grew up in a super small town with a really close community. So everybody knew each other, sometimes a little bit too closely. So we loved to gossip too much. And I'm glad I came from that background because it gave me a good understanding of what that type of community feels like and be working together toward those types of small town goals and things like that. And you could really see the influence that you make as an individual in a small town. And so I think that instilled in me a lot of the values that I continue to hold and that I try to bring to my current endeavors. And from there, I went to a university in Kentucky, where I was doing debate. I was recruited for the debate team, and it was like a career. I was basically debating every day, all weekend. The weekends were just debate. We would fly all over the country, sometimes to other countries, to debate and do public speaking and things like that. So it was a great way to cultivate a very intense time management ability because you had to juggle all that with school and, I wanted to do other things like volunteering and leadership and things like that. So having that enormous responsibility as a member of a team is, I think, a great experience that allowed me to be doing 1,000 things today. So I guess I've taken that and made it even more extreme. While I was at Kentucky, I was studying Chinese and economics and things like that, and I was kind of combining those interests while going to China and doing research there. So eventually I ended up in Taiwan as part of a Fulbright scholarship where I was doing my master's degree. Part of that was to study the idea of universal basic income or unconditional basic income, the idea that everybody should have a foundation or a guarantee from the government that they're never going to fall under the poverty line, that everybody's going to at least have that floor to stand on. And I saw Taiwan as a really great place to promote this idea, promote discussion of the idea, because there's enormous potential in Taiwan that I see every day. All my colleagues and my classmates, I kept seeing how amazing their talent was, but a lot of them felt sort of pessimistic about the future because they can't find good paying jobs or they can't find opportunities that really suit their passions. And so I was really excited to work with these amazing people to build up this group, UBI Taiwan, and promote discussion of this important issue. And so now, not only do we have the nonprofit entity, but we also have our company, Ascent Academy, which does critical thinking and debate for Taiwanese students. Because I wanted to take all of that and create business that I really believed in and that we were making a difference in these young people's lives, so that not only can we promote in the sense of getting that discussion out there, but also promote in the sense of creating critical thinking so kids, when they go to college or when they graduate, they can take those skills and they can make a difference. They can advocate for important issues. So that's what I sort of see as the synergy of all these different projects and things that I do. But the main thread that runs through all of them is that it's something I'm excited about. That's why I can, I spend a lot of time on all these things, but I keep up that energy because I'm constantly reminded of how a lot of these things are really changing people's lives. I really do believe that. I think that I've been told by kids, I saw their transformation. And I've seen how, we started giving a single mom a basic income and she was crying because this could be life-changing. And so some days you're going crazy because you have 3 meetings going on at the same time. And then other days you see that kind of thing and you realize that it's what your life is meant to be about. So I'm glad I've had this opportunity. I want to give that opportunity to other people as well.
Yeah, so Tyler, actually, like you built your own career here. Like you don't work for anyone. Like you create your own business and all that. So let's walk back a little bit. What's the momentum of the trigger that makes you decide like, okay, I'm gonna move to Taiwan?
That's a good question. So it was all kind of going with the flow, that I had a lot of things coming up and I realized that this is an opportunity, I should really take it. And, this is something that I want to do. I'm going to create this opportunity using the resources that I have. So it was that I was being led in a direction by what I kind of feel like it's fate in a lot of ways. And I was taking those opportunities, but not only taking that opportunity, but creating it in many ways, because I recognized that I was building up a lot of connections and important networks in Taiwan, then there's a real possibility to do something special.
Yeah.
So none of this was planned, but it all kind of a culmination of a lot of things that were happening. But it's, again, you have to take those opportunities. I mean, I almost went to DC to study economics, and there's other times when I almost left and to go study a PhD in California. You have to weigh those things, and it's not always a clear decision. And actually, that's something that in my closest friends, I'll talk to them about, those big critical moments, like when I was deciding between going to a certain job or going to a new job or creating a position or starting my business or leaving Taiwan. These are things that you have to really interrogate closely, and sometimes having that outside perspective helps you become a lot clearer. I called my speech director and I asked, should I go to Taiwan instead of DC? And he said, are you kidding me? Of course, go to Taiwan. And I was like, why? And he said, well, this could be once in a lifetime. You could always go to DC later. Particular scholarship that I got, you might never get again, but you can definitely get other similar things in the States. And so that really clarified for me. And it was that phone call totally changed my life. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have my business. I don't know where I'd be. Maybe I'd have a great life. I don't know, but I'm having a fantastic time because I took that chance. So it isn't just following the flow. It's also pushing the flow forward. And it's also looking for guidance in certain times when you're at a crossroads and you could go two different ways. And sometimes both options look compelling. So you need that outside advice.
So instead of like working for somebody else, you created your own business, you created your own opportunities. But looking back, like few years back, is there anything that you would tell yourself specifically? Sometimes it's just complain like, oh, I don't find this, I don't find that. Right. Sometimes you just have to get it and do it for exactly.
Yeah, I agree. Well, so when I started here, the UBI Taiwan that existed today didn't exist. And so that was something that at the beginning was literally just me. I mean, there was other people doing UBI stuff. Yeah. But at the beginning, the UBI in Taipei, that was just me alone. And then I was kind of like digging for people to help, and some amazing people came out and helped, started to help slowly. But that's like a process. Is that nobody's gonna give you a free lunch on that. Yeah, you have to prove it, and you have to prove yourself before anybody's gonna join in with you, because nobody wants to follow somebody who is a failure. You have to prove that you're successful, and it is kind of like the chicken or the egg, because I had no money. I had very few connections in Taiwan. I had connections a lot of other places, and I had people helping me, but it was really, really tough in the beginning. I put together an international conference my first few months being in Taiwan, and I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm glad I did it. Again, that's life-changing, because UBI Taiwan wouldn't exist if I didn't do that. But the day of the conference, I did not sleep. I was up all night myself, rescheduling, putting that final touches together. Literally no sleep. I went in there, and then I was hosting the conference. Now, people did come out and help me, but again, it's that's a process of getting people to believe in what you're doing. And so they did. There was some really great help, but at the beginning, it's always going to be tough. Then for my business, I called Alan from Lead for Taiwan when I had this revelation that I needed to do it on my own. I have my own vision of what this looks like. And my vision was to take debate skills and apply it in the real world for important projects. And that didn't exist. But I wanted to combine those things of learning these skills when you're young, and then as you get older, you're actually applying it and taking leadership opportunities. And so I called up Alan and I said this idea because he has a similar vision, and he's like, yeah, this is great. And so we put this together, and again, in the beginning, we knew nothing, and there's so much that you just will never know until you do it. Same with making an NGO, making a business, doing anything. And the funny thing is sometimes it comes from your own brain that you need to do it because you're in the process, and you just, the last day is when everything is so clear. You're like, oh, I did not do any of this, and all needs to be prepared. So it's like this wall in your brain gets knocked down, and all of this important information comes flooding forward. So you have to knock it down by actually doing it, because your brain isn't going to overwork itself if it doesn't have to. It's actually really lazy. We're really lazy species. So you have to do it, and you have to learn from it. But what I say to myself, I don't regret it, and it's the best decision that I ever made, but it's not for everybody, because there are definitely risks, but big rewards to it. But I would say try out those risks for yourself and kind of figure it out if it's good for you. It starts with a small risk, see how you feel, see where it goes. For myself, have I taken risks that I regret? Sure. But on those big decisions, it was something that had been building up for a long, long time, and I kind of put everything together. It was like, it wasn't even on purpose, but I was putting things together that made this seem like a really great option. So you kind of have to evaluate, do you have everything together that you need for that final leap? You also don't want to leap before you're ready. You do want to be, you're not going to be ever fully ready.
Yeah, that's true.
But you need to be at least in the realm of that you have a chance to survive.
Yeah.
And maybe that's my advice, is don't bite off more than you can chew, but also don't be afraid to start taking those risks.
So your business right now is in the education field, and I feel like you're super good at debate. That's your strong suit. Do you feel like it's better to just be good at one particular skill, or be the master of like the jack of all trades?
Oh, wow. We just had this debate. I just had my kids do this debate. Isn't that fate? Because that's the first time we've ever done the debate in my whole time teaching. I don't know the answer to that. I can tell you that I've done a lot of stuff. I do think it's important as a business person to have experienced lots of different things and being with a lot of different personalities and domains, and kind of knowing where you can pick from other areas. So personally, I benefited from doing a lot of things earlier on. However, now I am going really, really deep in the debate aspect.
Okay.
So with the company, it's very, very deep in that niche. So maybe it's probably a combination of both. Is I would say earlier on, I was doing college and masters, kind of slowly honing in on and narrowing in what I'm going to do. I was doing different things, and you should experience different things. But at some point, you have to make a decision and go deep in one area. But you can take those experiences previously and apply it to that area where you're going deep.
That's a really good advice. Like, leading to your moment in life right now, do you feel like your experience in the past kind of like always been leading you towards this?
That's a great question. It's kind of, I had these aspirations, and one of them was to do basic income project in Taiwan. That was, and my professor that I was working with on the application to come to Taiwan, and she was kind of laughing like, you're not going to do that. And I was like, yeah, I am. But it's kind of a combination of both. We were both right, because at the beginning I was not ready. That's another thing, is that you have to know when to take the leap. And I was not ready, and I was sort of biting off more than I could chew. I was trying to go too fast, and we wasted a lot of time on something that we were not ready for. So in those first couple of years, we talked a lot about it because it was an aspiration, but it wasn't going to happen. Now that I have the company, we can support that on our own a little bit. We can donate to that project. We also have a lot more institutional knowledge and we have a lot of more connections. We were ready to do it, and I said we're going to finally do it because I felt that the time was right.
Right. Yeah.
So that's not to say that was 100% wasted, because we actually used a lot of the research that we did for our original idea for the pilot program. We took that whole survey and now we're using it for the mom and the current research that we're giving for the single parent basic income. It's kind of a culmination of a lot of things as you're going and you're picking up different things in the journey. It looks like it's fate probably, but in some ways it's also that you were preparing for this moment and you had to prepare for this moment in order for that final opportunity to come forward. Because if I wasn't doing all of these things, if I wasn't at 4 a.m. putting this conference together, or if I hadn't come to Taiwan or whatever, pick your decision that I made, if I hadn't made that choice, then the other serendipitous moments would have never come forward to begin with.
In your opinion, is it important for you to have like a business partner, especially now that you started your own business in a foreign country? And the language here is definitely not easy to learn. For me, it was really important because we needed to split up a lot of the different work. So you have to think of where your strengths and weaknesses. And certainly Chinese is a cognitive effort for me to do. I mean, I can do it and I take calls and I do that outreach, but it is a larger cognitive effort. And even, I mean, dealing with bureaucracy and stuff like that, it is nice to have a business partner to split up that effort, especially when you're early on and you're building these systems and understanding everything that's happening. I mean, I don't know that this would have been successful if we weren't working together. We really needed both of our skill sets, I think. But that's not true for everybody. I can't speak for every domain and every foreigner and every type of business, but for this particular business, it was really essential. So now let's go back and talk more about your life here in Taiwan. The first time that you got here, do you find it hard, or is this like a culture shock? Especially you're coming from the US, but you've spent some time in China, right?
Well, it was like I was actually moving from Tianjin into Taipei. And so the shock was like, well, first of all, the traditional Chinese was a shock. And then I also was a little bit bullied for my accent, Beijing accent. I was like, oh my God. So that was a big effort, is like, trying to acclimate and assimilate into the Taiwan culture. But Taiwan made it easy in other sense because the people here are really nice. Even though they bullied me, I bullied him back. So it's okay. It was my roommate at the time. It was tough, but I had a way bigger shock already in China. And so in some ways it was a nice combination of both the US and China, and a lot of the good and bad of all the countries involved is you can kind of find that in Taiwan. So maybe the biggest in the beginning was I didn't know how to interact with people at a higher societal level than me. Even though I was in China, maybe I just was so scared in China and I could barely speak Chinese in the beginning, so I just didn't say anything that insulted anybody. I don't know. But it seemed like I was expected to know better in Taiwan, and so I was learning those ways to demonstrate respect and to interact with folks. Now it's, I totally understand, and I much better at that now.
So in your business, you have employees from Taiwan as well?
Yeah.
How do you interact with them? Or is there any like special or different kinds of treatment that you need to learn yourself to make them feel like, okay, I belong here?
Well, it's got to be different. We're very different. I do think that we're different. And something that I learned from Alan, I was just telling him yesterday, is that relationship that you're building with your employees is really important to go beyond just, I'm telling you what to do and that kind of thing. I don't want to be like that. And so you want to cultivate something that they're excited to come to work. I mean, work isn't always fun. I get it. I'm not having fun all the time. It can be very stressful. And I'm sharing that stress with them. You do want to get down in the dirt with your employees and show that we're all in this together. Okay. So I'm cleaning up. I clean up and I wipe the stuff. All right. I'm not just having everybody, do all the work for me. So I'm trying to get in with the employees, but then also take them, and we do fun stuff. Like we got our foot massage the other day. So
that's so dumb.
yeah, so I'm trying to be a good employer.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good point. So make them feel like they're in this together.
Yeah,
like
we're all
you
in
create
this
like
together.
inclusive culture.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think you've shared a lot of like useful advices to the listeners out there. Thank you so much for sharing and making the time. But before we end our conversation, if there's like one advice just for young professionals out there, they want to establish themselves here in Taiwan.
Don't do something just because it's what you think others want you to do.
Oh, that's very good. Yeah.
I've been in that trap. I was so scared to make the decision that I thought was going to offend a lot of people, but it was not right for me. And so you absolutely have to take that plunge and just do what's right for you. Never be afraid to tell others when you know that it's not the right opportunity. And also, not only to say no, but also to know when to say yes. That if it's what you want to do, don't listen to the criticisms and the whatever it might be. You want to take that in, and you want to understand there's risks and rewards, like I said. But also but my point is, don't just make the decision yes or no or whatever it is just because somebody thinks that it's not what they want for you.
Wow, that's a very good advice. Yeah, because a lot of people, they tend to think about what others think about themselves too much without listening to their inner self.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah. Tyler, again, thank you so much for sharing with us about your experiences. If people out there, they want to connect with you.
We have our UBI Taiwan Facebook. You can message. I read all those messages on there. So, and please give us a like on Facebook and Instagram. We'll be very happy with that.
Okay, we'll include the link on the description. And thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
See you on the next episode of the Think Global and Work Local podcast. Bye.
Bye-bye.